Hey, welcome back to my channel. So today I am doing my first kind of what I read review just for a week period. So my last two videos I did kind of all of October what I read and all of November what I read. And each one of those videos was about 15 to 20 books. I will preface this saying most of the books that I'm reading are actually audiobooks, so I'm listening to them. And that's why I'm able to get through so many, even though I'm doing a lot of other things as well. So I prefer audiobooks mainly because they keep my focus more than just sitting down and reading. And I found that especially when I'm studying and taking in a lot of information, I really prefer the audio format. So without further ado, I will get into it and go through the books I read this week. So the first book of the four that I read this week is called The Co-op, and it's by Tara DeWitt. And this was a really cute book, so I will say all of the books that I read this week have been romance. So this book, it was really focused on, there is this woman and she inherited this multi-unit residential building, and it was a building that her grandmother owned, and her grandmother owned it with the grandmother of a guy that she had a bit of a summer romance with. And there's a bit of a miscommunication when they were younger, and they didn't end very amicably. So a lot of tension going into this, and because she dropped out of law school, she's been cut off by her parents in terms of financial assistance. So this is really like her last ditch effort to sell this building and be able to kind of move on with her life. And so the book is really just, it covers kind of her coming to the building and reuniting with this guy that she had a lot of kind of friction with, and they're definitely butting heads quite a bit at the beginning, and essentially they have to come to terms in terms of her getting her inheritance from her grandmother. She has to be married, so they do wind up getting married. I don't think I'm giving anything away, that's very early in the book. So it's navigating living together in this kind of derelict building, and don't mind my dogs behind me, sorry about that. So they're just navigating like living together, and she gets a job and he's fixing up the building and they're working together, and it is definitely like a romance story. So them dealing with like this tension that they have between them, both in terms of frustration and not really getting along, but also the sexual tension. So it's definitely kind of building and growing throughout the novel, and it really just follows their story of how they're dealing with getting everything fixed up and dealing with all of these mishaps that kind of happen along the way, and then also navigating like what do they tell his mom, and especially as things are becoming actually romantic between them, and both trying to kind of guess what each other wanted and guess the meaning of what happened when they were younger, and navigating all of that. And it was just a really, really cute story. Definitely recommend it. It's a little bit kind of lighter in terms of the style. There is a little bit of kind of spice in the book, but I would say it's nothing too crazy. So take that with a grain of salt, but it was a really cute story overall. The next book is The Newspaper Nanny by Maren Moore, and this actually it appeared to be a prequel to some of the books that I went over in my December, and it appears to be a prequel to some of the books from my November reads video. So I read a couple books from the Maren Moore series in terms of the hockey players, and this was actually a book that appears to be earlier from the coach of the hockey team. And I know it's earlier because the relationship that occurs in this book is already in place for the other books that I read. So this is essentially, there's a young woman and her parents both passed away, and so she is responsible for making sure that her grandmother is able to stay in this residence that she's living in. And so she's working a not great job, and there's a manager at her job that's just doing a lot of like sketchy stuff that is just, she's not okay with. And nobody is, but they're all kind of stuck in this crappy job, crappy pay, just because of life's circumstances. And then she ultimately sees this ad in the newspaper and applies for this nanny job. They did actually have a bit of like a meet cute before the actual interview, and they didn't know that each other was who's interviewing for the roles. And then it's just really where she builds this beautiful relationship with his two daughters, and there's this chemistry between them from the start. And essentially he's a little bit older than she is, so she's I think early 20s and he's probably in his 30s or something like that. They don't actually say how old they are. And so he has a hockey player on the team that's creating a lot of drama, and it's his first year being coach, and he's being kind of told don't do anything that's going to cause any headlines or anything like that. And so they're trying to keep their relationship quite discreet. And he's also navigating like past trauma that he has and being open to a relationship and having this romantic relationship with somebody that's coming into the girls' lives as well. And I'd say this one's really cute as well. A little bit of spice in this one, I'd say probably more than the co-op, but still nothing too crazy. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was cute. I don't think this author's writing is like mind-blowing, but her stories are pretty cute in terms of the format. A couple twists and turns you don't really expect, but overall it's kind of, when you're going into the book, like what you're expecting is what you get. And I think there is a beauty to that kind of writing as well. Yeah, I did enjoy it. I think I gave it 3 stars. I'll put on the side kind of how many stars I gave this one, but yeah, overall it was a really cute book. As I mentioned in my last video, most of the book in this series I'm giving like a 3 to 4 stars. I'd say they're all kind of around like a 3.5, but it's a really cute story, and it's something that as the books kind of pop up and become available on Libby, I would continue to kind of listen or read them, but I'm not going to go like out of my way to purchase them. And I just double checked, in both of the books that I just went over, I gave both of those a 4-star. This next one was a 4-star for me as well. Again, I would say probably like a 3.5, but it was a pretty short read. So I will say the next 2 that I read were definitely more on the spicy side. So the first one was Trick Shot by Kayla Gross. And this is kind of like a polyamorous relationship. There's a famous hockey player. I don't know why I keep getting all of these recommendations, but that's kind of what's popping up for me. And he has a twin brother, and his twin brother meets a girl on Christmas Eve. They're trying to fly home and their flights are canceled. She mistakes him for his brother, and when he first thinks it's just going to be a short kind of conversation, he goes with it and says that yes, he is his brother. He wanted to like give her the joy of thinking she met this person that she was like really excited to meet. However, as the night progressed and their flights were canceled, she winds up going home with him. And then his partner and stuff is back at the house, and then it does evolve into like a polyamorous relationship. Again, quite a spicy book, so if you're not looking for spice, I would say this is like more on the smut side. If that's not something that interests you, you definitely would not want to read this book, but it was a pretty cute story. There was definitely a story interwoven within the spice. It wasn't just spice. I would say, like I said, I gave this one a 4. I did quite enjoy it. But it was probably like a 3.5, more edging towards a 4 than a 3 for me. I do wish Goodreads had like the half stars, because I feel like a lot of mine would really be in between the 2-star ratings. I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a cute book. Again, nothing mind-blowing in terms of like the writing style or the storyline, but it did keep me interested, and I'm doing my ratings just based on enjoyment. And then the last book I read is Lights Out by Nevessa Allen, and this is one that came up just in my Libby app when I was looking for available books. And then it was one that kept getting lots of holes as I was reading it. So I've mentioned in my December video I'm seeing that a decent amount. So it's like I will download a book, and then all of a sudden like there's 6 people waiting for it. This is a book that, again, it's pretty spicy, and when I'm looking kind of on TikTok, like it seems to be quite popular right now, so I think a lot of people are listening to it. There's a lot of warnings, trigger warnings at the beginning of the book, so if you're sensitive to trigger warnings, I'd definitely be mindful going into this in terms of what you're okay with or not okay with. But it's essentially where there's this woman, and she's a trauma nurse, and she's like following this, obsessed with this guy on TikTok, and he essentially does like mask play. So like he wears a mask, you can't see his face, And he films like a ton of thirst trap type videos, and she's like commenting on his videos and really into it. Definitely is a fantasy kind of more than a reality in her life. And then she winds up kind of one night screenshotting screenshotting one of his videos, and she sends it to this guy that has like this casual situation with, and he basically responds saying, no, I'm seeing somebody. It's been multiple months, so she's just like really busy at work, totally understaffed. And he winds up showing a screenshot to his roommate, and his roommate is actually the guy in the video. And so the entire story is essentially him testing the waters and seeing if like her comments are actually legitimate. So he winds up like breaking into her house and leaving a mask for her, and kind of like popping up in her life. And then they are like communicating on the app and stuff. Yeah, it just kind of follows the development of their romance. It was something where from the moment he met her, he was really into her. There's definitely some kind of like stalker-esque behavior. So again, if that's something that bothers you, I'd be really mindful going into this book. This was quite a spicy book, as I mentioned. Like, it's kind of more probably on the smut side in terms of like the actual activities they're doing and how descriptive the author is kind of writing about those activities. But I did actually enjoy this one. This was one that I downloaded to listen to without actually knowing what it was, and then I started kind of seeing it popping up on my Facebook groups of, I guess, other people are reading it, and it seems to be like a trending book right now. So definitely an interesting book. Never read anything like it before, but I did actually really enjoy it. I've seen people say that the actual reading the book is not as good as the audiobook. I did listen to the audiobook and I really enjoyed it. And I think a lot of that was because of the person that was narrating it. He did it in a great way. Whereas I can see what people are saying, whereas if you actually sat down and read the words yourself, how it might come off as like kind of cheesy or like not a great storyline. So I would definitely say if it's something you're interested in, go more to the audiobook rather than kind of like reading the physical or the ebook or anything like that. So that's my advice for that one. I did actually give that one 5 stars, so I did really enjoy that one. First book from Navessa Allen. I hadn't heard of her before, so I'm gonna go like see if she has anything else that might be kind of interesting to pick up and check out. But yeah, that was all I read this week, so it was just the 4 books. So this will be like a short and sweet little video for you. What I've decided I'm going to do, and you'll see if you watch my reading journal setup video that should be up by the time you're seeing this, but I'm essentially going to pick like a weekly favorite, and then from there I'm going to bring those up to like bi-weekly, monthly, quarterly, and then like a yearly favorite. So I'm going to do like a favorite of 2025 once we get into the new year. So really kind of looking forward to doing that. Obviously I won't be doing that like with this list, but the first 3 books I rated 4 stars, the last book I rated a 5 star, so that would obviously be like my top book this week. And then I've got like a couple other books that I'm kind of listening to / reading. I usually have like a few books kind of on the go at the same time. So that's where we're at for this week. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, I would love it if you could give me a thumbs up. I am posting every day for kind of like the Vlogmas, Planmas up to Christmas, and I am planning on kind of keeping up a decent content volume after that. So hit that subscribe button if you're interested in seeing more videos from me, and I would recommend hitting that little notification bell, which will tell you each time that I do upload, especially for my Vlogmas videos that are coming out every day. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a beautiful day and week ahead.